Everyone has a story. I get them to tell it. Welcome to the Aaron Bender Podcast, conversations with media personalities about their personal and professional lives and journeys. Thank you for all your support, whether you're watching on DB&A TV or YouTube. Thanks for finding the show. Before we get to my conversation with Somy Ali, a little about my story. I'm a widowed dad of two girls who just lost their mom, a grieving husband, a man in recovery trying to reconnect with the world with fresh eyes, faith, and perspective, a college journalism professor, a white guy in a world of injustice, a 20-year broadcast media veteran who had his dream job and then lost it. A year and a half ago, God gave me a gift, an opportunity to stop, step back, and breathe so I could learn about love, vulnerability, forgiveness, grace, self-care, patience, and understanding. My guest today is Somy Ali, a sexual abuse, domestic violence, and rape survivor, an activist, a former Bollywood actress, and the founder of No More Tears, an all-volunteer nonprofit in South Florida that helps victims of human trafficking and domestic violence. We talk about how her abusive childhood was the catalyst behind No More Tears, how a dream led her to India and Bollywood, and how even though she was born in Pakistan, she ended up in North Miami at age 11.
So my half-sister, my mom's daughter from her first marriage, who was 20 at the time, took me in, and she lived in North Miami with her boyfriend in an apartment, and that's where I resided when I moved here.
So what was that experience like? What was, are we talking culture shock? Are we talking relief? What was that like?
It was a terrible experience because I had a very heavy Pakistani accent, and I was bullied and called a sand nigger and told to go back on the camel that I rode on or whatever. I was jumped. It was a horrible experience. Like any other immigrant kid, it was really, really tough to assimilate. And it was pretty bad. Initially, it was pretty bad, and that made me veer towards a set of a group of kids that were deemed to be the burnouts back in the 80s. So the burnouts became my friends because they took me in and they accepted me and they didn't make fun of me, and they all came from just dysfunctional homes like I did. And that was my tribe. I found my tribe.
How did you end up deciding to move at 11 years old, though?
Okay, so this is like it's a very long story. So
It's a podcast. We've got time, girl. You know that.
All right. So when I was in Pakistan at the age of 5, I was sexually abused by the house help, and there were 3 incidents. Then at the age of 9, there was another incident, and there was a lot of domestic violence happening in my house. And my half sister had come to visit us in Pakistan, and I also had I had a tumor in my leg, in my left leg, in my femur that was eating up my bone, and so I had to get surgery. Otherwise, they said they had to amputate the leg or whatever. Thank God that didn't happen. I told my mom I didn't want to go to school, and I told my dad I'm not interested in going to school. So at the age of 11, I said I was sitting at home watching Bollywood movies and not going to school. In Pakistan, you can get away with a lot. So my sister comes and she's like, "Somy, why aren't you going to school?" And I was like, I just don't feel like it. I just want to watch like Indian movies, and I don't want to go. And I was like, I'm on crutches. And then every time I go to school, it was an all girls school. All the girls want me to remove my brace, and they want to see my scar. And I hate it. And I don't want to go. So she's like, "This is ridiculous. You have to go to school." And so she's like, "Why don't you come live with me? And, eventually your mom and your brother can move to America as well. And you need to have an education. And you can't just spend the rest of your life watching movies. That's ridiculous." So I was like, okay. So I moved to America and lived with my sister.
Let's go back to the incidents of abuse. You said at age 5, age 9. Did you tell your parents? Did you tell anybody? What were those conversations like?
So it was the cook that we had. So we grew up in a 28 bedroom mansion. My father was a film producer director. The first floor was the studio where all the filming took place. We lived, the second floor was just for guests, and the third floor is where we resided. And in the back of the house were the servant quarters. So at the age of 5, it was probably the weekend because there was no office staff. And I was playing in one of the dad's employees' rooms in his offices, and I found red markers, and I decided to draw things for him on his white wall. I was 5. And this cook walks in, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Well, I'm making a house for Uncle so-and-so," whatever. I would refer to them as uncles, although they weren't my uncles, but out of respect, you call them Uncle so-and-so.
Right.
So he's like, "Well, you're going to get in trouble if you do this." And he's like, then he asked me like if I had ever seen baby chicks before. And I was like, no. And, he's like, "You want to see them? I can show them to you." And I'm not going to get into some details, but basically he took me to his servant quarters. He exposed himself to me and wanted me to, do things to him. And I ran out. That was the first incident. Second incident, what got worse. Third incident was very bad. The third incident, I told my mom because I was in a lot of pain. My mom called my dad. We had the intercom system back then. And she told my dad, and my dad called me down to his office, and he said, "I want you to sit in this chair and not move." And then my dad called the cook, and my dad called 5 of his employees, and they all beat the guy to the pulp and made me at 5 watch that, as if that was some sort of redemption for me. And then they threw him outside of the gate, and God knows what happened to him. So that happened. I did tell, yes, like I said, the second incident, which when I was 9, was again another person who was a house help. Not our house help, but 3 houses down. I used to play with some kids, and it was their servant, is what they called them there.
Yeah.
And he said there were 2 guys. They were like, "We want to show you something." So my little brother was we were standing downstairs. We were playing outside. I think we were playing hopscotch. I don't know if we have hopscotch in America.
Yep.
We were playing hopscotch. Okay. So the guys were like, "Come up alone. We want to show you something." So I told my brother, I was 9, I said, "Stay right here. I want to see what," I was curious. So I went up, and then they started showing me magazines with naked, people in sexual positions, which I had never seen in my life. I was 9. And I was like, I started laughing out of nervousness. And I was like, "Why are you guys showing me this?" And they were like, "Well, we want to do to you what is going on in these pictures." And then they pulled my underwear down, and immediately in that instant, my brother started calling out my name. He kept saying, "Somi, Somi, Somi, come down." And I don't know, it was from the universe where I was saved by him repeatedly calling my name. I pulled my underwear up and just rushed down the spiral staircase. Then I go to the house, and mom is not home. My mom was a socialite. She was always out and about.
Yeah.
We had locked ourselves outside the house door. So we sat outside on the doorstep, and eventually my brother fell asleep in my lap because we're 4 years apart. And then when my mom came home, I told her what happened. And she said, "It's your fault because you shouldn't have been out." And that's all that happened. She said, "It was your fault because you shouldn't have gone up. You were too stupid." It's just.
It's a very different reaction from when something happened to you at 5,
Right.
4 years later at 9. Why do you think that is, that difference in reaction?
Well, keep in mind the reaction was from my father, not from my mother. My mother was a victim of domestic violence, and she was very physically and verbally abusive to me and my brother. So, in fact, the part that I didn't tell you is that she actually beat me quite profusely for going up to the staircase because she said I was dumb and it was stupid. It was my fault.
In thinking about, like, I have a daughter who just turned 6. I have another who's 8 years old. And, they're at the point, especially the 6-year-old, where what she remembers now will probably be her earliest memories. Or is the scene of your dad ordering that this cook be beaten, like one of, if not the first memory you have?
No, my first memory is the smell and exactly what the servant quarters looked like, where I was taken. Prior to that, my first memory is my father abusing my mother and beating her to the pulp. And my brother and I, no, my brother was not born at that. Yeah, he wasn't born then. I was 4 and I was under the bed, hiding under the bed and watching the whole thing happen, not understanding what is going on. But I knew that it wasn't a happy thing because mom was crying profusely and she was also bleeding. So that was my earliest memory, and I've been working on my memoir for the past about 7 years, and that's how I started it. That's what I remember the first as a child.
What are some of the happier memories as a child in Pakistan?
Playing cricket, which you guys don't have in America. But I used to love to play cricket. So we grew up on servants, basically. Some were good, some were, as I mentioned, horrible. So I would play, the servants were my best friends, and I would just play with them. And then in some instances, one of my school friends who I was very close to, I used to do sleepovers, and I used to be obsessed with Scrabble as a child, and I am to this day. I love Scrabble. Not Monopoly. I wasn't really fond of Monopoly, but I just have this. I like words. I like learning new words. It's a weird thing that I just have this thing. So I would go over to her house and we would play Scrabble a lot, and then we would play cricket in her backyard. Yeah, those are some of the good memories. Not a lot, but a few.
By the time you talked about you're 11 years old, your half sister comes to visit, and she's like, "Somi, what are you doing? What why are you living this way?" Prior to the incidents at 5 and 9, or I guess in between, do you feel like you were an engaged student, an involved student of, and then basically just this abuse took its toll to the point where you're like, I don't want to do anything with my life. I'm an 11-year-old girl who's wildly depressed, but there's really no name for it at 11 at that time in the 80s.
I'm laughing because it's not funny, but I'm laughing because in Pakistan, my school is called Convent of Jesus and Mary. It's a very privileged school, like only the wealthy can get in or whatever. So dad had to pull some strings to get me in there. And it was run by nuns. And I remember on Sundays, we had school on Sundays in Pakistan. So the Christians would go to their we would have Islamic period, and then they would go, and I always was like, I want to go with them. Why do I have to stay here? Because I was just confused as a child. But I'm sorry, what was your question? I was just a student. I was so we have a marking system. It stems from the British rule. So we don't have like A and B and C and D. We had to back then. I don't know how it is now, but so in a class of 40 students, you come first. I came 39 out of the 40 students. That's how bad I was. I would daydream a lot. I couldn't focus. And now I understand in my 40s that this was because of the abuse. Right. And my best friend that I used to play Scrabble with was the one who always came first. It was really funny that she happened to be my best friend. But I used to hate the fact that when I went to her house, her mom and dad would have lunch and dinners together, or go out for dinners. And there was such it was so antithetical to how I lived in my home. That really baffled me at that age.
Almost seemed fake, almost seemed like, what are you guys putting on, some sort of TV show here?
Yeah, it was very, for me, abuse and chaos and noise and being uncomfortable and anxious was very common and normal growing up. And when I would go to my best friend's house, it was the opposite. So I couldn't really ascertain what was going on. And I didn't understand which is right, what I'm living or what they're living.
As somebody who I spent, more than 35 years of my life living with some sort of anxiety, and only recently have I discovered, okay, this is what life is like without anxiety or with less anxiety? Do you feel, at what point do you feel like you reached the point where you're like, oh, okay, living without anxiety is actually normal. It's not the other way.
I haven't reached that point. I have anxiety every day. I still suffer from it. I have PTSD. I have triggers. I don't like putting headphones. I have this phobia of headphones. I like to be able to hear my surroundings. If someone comes behind me from the back, I can't, it really, really triggers things. Because my mom would always, she would hit my brother and myself, like she would just out of nowhere, we'd be sitting watching TV and she would just come from the back and start pounding on us. So I have a lot of PTSD from that. I've tried, cognitive talk therapy, but I've tried antidepressants. I didn't like the side effects of them. I'm all for medication. I think it's very important if you have, especially you have something like schizophrenia or PTSD or any, depression, you must seek help and get medication. But I tried a couple of antidepressants and it just didn't do well for me. So I've realized that working out is like the best, like weightlifting has been the best form of therapy and getting rid of my anxiety. I hate cardio. I detest it. So I'm more into weight training.
I'm laughing because when we worked together in Miami, one of the things I remember is the idea that you hate exercise. And the fact that you're even talking about doing anything in a gym, weightlifting, wherever. You don't go to the gym, you just do it at home.
I got all the weights. I got the barbell. I got the bench. I don't want to be in a gym because I don't want to be approached and I don't want people to talk to me. I call myself a misanthrope who is in the wrong field. But yeah, I like to work out at home. Put on my Jennifer Lopez, my Eminem, my Adele, all that stuff, and I just work out at home.
So take me then to 11 years old. You're in North Miami, new place. You're finding your niche of friends, the outcasts and the misfits, because they're accepting of you. What was life like for you from 11 to about 16? And I say 16 because that's also a watershed moment in your life. Yes. But tell me about those first few years in North Miami.
So I skipped school a lot. And I would wear ripped jeans, which would say Guns N' Roses Rules with a Z. And Bon Jovi's.
Such a rebel. Oh, yeah, look at you.
But at least I had a cause. And then I would have like all these markers saying like Poison is the best and like stupid stuff. In hindsight, it sounds preposterous and ludicrous, but that's what our tribe did. We had ripped jeans and we wrote Metallica Rules on our jeans and our t-shirts. And we would skip school. So I hated math. So I would always skip math. And then we would go behind a bowling alley and it was by our school. And that's the first time I tried pot and I didn't like it. I sound like Bill Clinton, but I don't think I inhaled because I never really was much like drugs weren't really much of a thing. I'd never really veered towards, it didn't do much for me.
I had myself a joint, but I did not inhale. I did not.
Exactly.
I did not.
That's pretty good. That's very good. Yeah, I would skip school all the time. And then my half sister, she would sit down and say, this is not a good look for you. And I was like, what? You're just mad at me because you like Madonna and I like Bon Jovi and Guns N' Roses.
Oh, look at the throwing down with the words. Oh, it's the battle of the bands.
And then I'm like, the burnouts had taught me the word whatever. So I would tell if she would lecture me, I would be like, whatever. Like at this point, I was fully Americanized, fully grasped the jargon of a teenage jerk. And she would be like, and then I remember Mr. Halpert, who passed away. He was my English teacher. He's after hours, he was like, Somi, let me talk to you. And he's like, look, you're a really good kid. I was probably like 12, 13 at this point. And he's like, you have so much potential and you're not even giving an iota of what you can do. and I'm really worried about you. So I was getting C's and D's, which is not great, but I was like getting C's and D's. So he was like, you can really do this. And what happened is I tried cigarettes. So Mr. Halpert, we were in the corner outside school. Mr. Halpert saw me smoking, and that I did inhale. And he's like, I saw you smoking. I don't like the crowd that you're hanging out with. And I was like, here we go again. It's another half-sister lecture. And then, but actually with Mr. Halpert, I felt like he was coming from a very good place and very genuinely concerned about my well-being and, you know, hanging out with the wrong crowd. And he kept saying that, you know, you have so much potential and you can really do well. And of course, I didn't listen. I still maintained my C's and D's, just soldiering on. And then skipping school, once the police took me back because it was math class. So I got in the car with the cops. They took me back to math class. So that sucked. Then when I was 14, it was really, that was a very bad point for me because there was I'm not going to use the real name, but there's a kid named Mark who was 17. And he said it was the first time someone had said that they liked me and that I was pretty. And so he started hanging out with, now I'm wondering, like, we were all 14 and he was 17. Why was he hanging out with us? And there I remember the other burnout kids were buying joints from him. Okay. So he was hanging out with us. And then one day he called. I thought he was really cute. And I think it was like my first crush or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Of course, the ultimate first crush was Bon Jovi. Nothing can beat that. But so Mark called me one night. I remember I was in my PJs and he was calling from a convenience store downstairs in North Miami where I lived. And he said, hey, listen, I want to, you know, talk to you about something very important. Can you come down? And I was like, oh my God, my sister and her boyfriend are at the movies. And if they find out, like, I come down and talk to you, I'll be dead. Like, she'll kill me. And he's like, it's just going to be 5 minutes. Please come down. So I went down and I liked the guy. So I was like nervous and butterflies in my stomach and all that stuff. And then it wasn't really a park. It's now converted into a park because I drove past it about 6 months ago and I had to pull over and take a moment just to start breathing again. But it was like more like a woods, like a jungle kind of thing, where kids would just go in and probably have sex and smoke, do drugs or whatever. So I went in, he was like, let's go in there. I want to talk to you. It's very important. I was like, just tell me like here. And he was like, no, let's go in there because I want to talk to you. So we sat down and then he's like, look, I think you're really pretty and I really like you. And I was like, this is what you wanted to talk to me about? And he's like, yeah, because I want you to be my girlfriend. And I was like shaking because I was like so nervous. And I remember I kept putting my hair like this because I didn't want him to see me because I was so nervous. And he kept pushing it back. Yeah. And he's like, why won't you look at me? And then I was like, well, I think I have to go because if my sister comes back, I'll be in real big trouble. And then at that point in time, he kissed me. And it was the first time I had been kissed and I liked it. And then I stopped him because he went further, which I didn't want to do. And long story short, in a matter of 5 minutes, I was raped and left with semen and blood on my legs, alone in the woods. Sorry. So Mark left, and then I limped back, which was about, I think, half a mile to the apartment. And I called one of my friends and I said that this is what happened. And she said, she came over right away. And then we called another friend because we didn't know what to do. And then the other friend said, you need to call 911 because you've been raped. So we called 911 and the cops came. And then my sister walked in with her boyfriend and she said, what is happening? What is going on? And then the cops, I think they took me to do a rape kit test. You know, there was already blood and semen all over me. So My sister took me in the other room and she said, I didn't expect you to stay a virgin forever. So if you want to avoid the court system and you don't want to go through with this, then it's fine. I understand. And I said, are you kidding me? Like, no, I want to go to court. I want to press charges. I lost my virginity to rape. That's horrible. So she said, I'm just telling you, it's going to be tough. You're going to have to go to court. And I don't know at this point in time if she was not believing me or if she was protecting me. I think it's the former, because she was getting $2,000 from my dad to take care of me. And she didn't want me to convey this to my father, that this has happened under her care. Yeah. So we went to court. It was, I don't remember. I was trying to look up in the Miami courthouse what the outcome was. It was only one day. All I remember is his lawyer asking me, did you consent with Mark in any way? And I didn't know what the word consent meant, obviously, because I was a horrible student. So I said, I try to like understand from the sentence, and I said,
right.
I said no. And, thank God I said no. All I remember is that I never saw Mark. I went to school. My sister sent me to school the very next day. Never saw Mark around. I guess there was a restraining order. I don't know if he was arrested. I don't know what happened. I wanted to look at what the docket and go back and look in the archives, but I was like, I don't want to do that to myself right now at this age, because there's no point. Because if there were no consequences for Mark, then I don't want to live with that. I'd rather not know. So I went to school the next day. Everyone was talking about it. Like every single person was talking about Somi got raped. Some girls were saying she asked for it. She wanted, how victim blaming happens, and we're all 14. And so I told my sister, I said, I don't want to go to school anymore. I'm not going to school. So once again, from 11 and now at 14, I stopped going to school. And she said, okay, fine. Because she realized, like, psychologically, and mind you, I got zero counseling, zero therapy, nothing. I was just like sat at home. And then,
I'm just thinking, like, if something happens like this now, you're home for a week or two or three, maybe even don't even go back to that same school. You're in therapy, you're in counseling. Yeah, I mean, there's all these steps that now are accepted to take and encouraged to take.
Right, exactly. So a couple of weeks passed, and then my mom and my brother came from Pakistan, and then we moved to another city. We moved to Miramar, which is, I'm trying to tell you where Miramar is.
Well, you could tell the people. I mean, it's basically a suburb right at the Miami-Dade Broward line.
Right. Thank you. I would have probably screwed it up. My geography is
For example, it's basically, it's like right next to where the Dolphins play football.
Yes.
That's
I went to so I was enrolled in Miramar High School, and so I made a new set of friends. Again, burnouts, and this time the music was hardcore. It was Megadeth. So the worse the friends were, the harder the music was. And again, I was not going to school, hated school. In hindsight, I think it was all the trauma from the age of 5 that just did not allow me to focus on school. And again, there was a math teacher, a woman this time, who said, you have so much potential. You're such a good girl. Why are you hanging out with these people? And then I was like, they're cool kids, and you don't get it. You don't understand. You don't know what it's like to be 14 or 15. I think I was 15 at that point. I was such an idiot. But anyways, so yeah, school was not for me. But anyway, I did go to Miramar High. Then I turned 16, and then everything changes, of course, after I watch a Bollywood movie and have a dream, which sounds insane right now.
Elaborate. We're just going to go there. We're just going to go there right now. I think we've covered those teenage years in Miami. Let's go back overseas. What the heck happened?
Yeah, I watched this Indian movie, and it's a brand new actor, and it's 1991. And I had a dream that night that I have to go to India and marry this actor. So I woke up, rummaging through the house for a suitcase. And my mom was like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm moving to India to marry this actor." And she's like, "Go to your room and just like don't come out until I tell you to, because you've lost your mind."
By this point, your mom and brother have moved to Miami with you
Right.
guys.
Yeah. So actually we had moved to Pembroke Pines. We were living in a place called Heron's Landing, which was off of Hiatus and I think Pines Boulevard.
Okay.
Um,
But
and
still in South Florida. Yeah.
still in South Florida, right? So I'm 16, and then I call my dad, and I told my dad, I said, "Dad, Mom, I want to go to India because of partition. A lot of our relatives stayed behind when India gained independence." So I lied to my dad completely. I said, he was very religious. So I said, "Dad, you don't need him. We can't even hear the call to prayer here. Like, I need to come to you, and then we need to go to India."
You
And
played the religion card.
oh yeah, totally.
Wow.
Yeah, I was a total jerk. And then I was like, and I want to meet my relatives. Like, we have relatives, like they were all from that side of the family. So I used that to my advantage. And then I said that I want to see Taj Mahal. I haven't seen that either. So my dad, I was like, "Dad, Mom is like not nice and she's not letting me go. And I really want to go to India, and I don't like living in America anymore. And I've stopped going to school." So
You're pushing all the buttons, checking all the boxes,
yeah.
whatever you can do.
So next thing I know, Dad sent me I was a spoiled brat, sent me a first class ticket, and I flew first to Pakistan, and then from Pakistan we went to India. We were staying in a 5-star hotel, and I actually wrote down a number of a guy who does photo shoots for people that want to get into films, because I was thinking, well, if I have to meet this guy, I have to get into films. Now keep in mind, I have no interest in acting at all, like zilch, zero. So I called this guy, did a photo shoot, and he's like, "Now go around giving your pictures to modeling agencies, because first you have to become a model, and then you end up getting into acting."
Yeah.
First agency I walk in, the actor is sitting on the couch. I don't see him, he sees me. And then he asked for my photo. It says Somy Ali, 816, Sirak Hotel, room 1701. And that evening I got a call from him, and he said, I'm launching my own production company, and I'm looking for someone to play the lead opposite me. And would you be interested? And I thought this was someone pulling a prank on me. So I was like, "If you're really him, say a dialogue from your movie." And he actually said the dialogue. I made him say the dialogue.
Yeah.
And then he said, "Come to my house the next day. My father wants to meet you because he's part of the production company." And I go to his house with my dad, and I must have tried on 50 outfits because I knew we were going to get married. And I was like totally convinced this is happening. It's straight from Allah, and how can anything from Allah go wrong?
Right.
So then he wasn't there. I was so disappointed. And then he called later, and he said that he actually was on a film set, so he couldn't make it. He was at a shoot. And next thing you know, I signed my first film with him, and we're in a plane heading to Nepal, to Kathmandu. And I took out his picture from my purse, and I said, "Look, I brought your photo in case I forget what you look like," although this guy's like the Brad Pitt of India. And I tell him that, so I'm not really interested in films. I've come here to marry you. And he's 27, I'm 16. So he was like laughing, and he said, "I have a girlfriend, right?" And I was like, "It doesn't matter. Like God."
The whole reason I'm here is,
Yeah.
Did you tell him about the dream? Did you tell? And this is
Yeah.
Salman Khan. So as people in the United States likely won't know the name, but
No.
anybody who's either followed your career or is into Bollywood at all will know
Who he is.
his name, right?
So he said, "But I have a girlfriend." I said, "Yeah, but it doesn't matter, because God has sent me here for a reason, because what are the odds? How many people have crushes on actors, and what are the odds of them actually meeting them and signing a film with them?"
Yeah, you walk into the first agency and he's right there. Of course, it's
all
going to
very
appear to you. It's ordained.
it's so, yeah. So I was like, Allah wants this. You can't like defy Allah. This is crazy. And then he's like, I've been with my girlfriend for 5 years. We're gonna get married. And I was like, no, it's not gonna happen. And now I'm thinking like I sound like a psychopath stalker. Anyways, so a year later, he broke up with his girlfriend and we started dating. And the fairy tale, I had realized I fell in love with the character, not the real person. So the fairy tale ended very, very badly. It was 8 years of verbal, physical, and sexual abuse. It was horrible, completely horrible. And yeah, it really got out of control. And in 1999, December, I called my dad and I said that can I come to you first and then can you fly me to Florida? And then my dad sent a ticket. I told his family that I'm going to actually shop for his brother's wedding. I lied again to get out of there. So I moved back in 1999, December, drop out of 9th grade, had a pity party, which no one attended for 6 months, felt sorry for myself for being cheated on. And then my brother was like, okay, enough. 6 months is enough. Like, yeah, okay, you got cheated on. It's enough. Time to like get your ass up, get your GED. And I was like, oh, school again?
Again with the school, people, stop it.
So basically, yeah, I went to Nova for my undergrad. And then, I got a degree in psychology. And I met Dr. Hammock there, who was my statistics professor. He became my mentor. He taught me all about Israel and Palestine and the war in Kashmir and Virginia Woolf and Emily Dickinson. I chewed his brain up. F. Scott Fitzgerald. Like I sucked I was like a sponge. Dr. Hammock was like a dad that I wish I had. He taught me so much. Every day he would make me read. Every day I studied with him for 8 hours a day, and it wasn't just stats. It was New York Times articles. He would make me read them, and then he would say, okay, now what have you extrapolated from what you've read? And then I would be like, I don't know. I had just begun. When I went to Nova to sign up for school, they asked me, what major do you want to, what do you want your major to be? And I said, what's a major? That's how bad I was.
Right.
I had no idea because there was no foundation of education. So anyway, Dr. Hammock, I took all the office hours. Students hated me. I read the textbooks before the semester started, from front to I was the opposite of the Somi that was a child in school in Miami and in Pakistan. I was the complete opposite. I graduated with a 4.9 GPA, very proud, and got an A in statistics. And I'm very proud because I sucked in math. And probability, I was like, what the F is probability?
Yeah, I hated stats, probabilities,
But as a psych major, I had to take it.
Yeah. Pre-calc, I think, was the extent of what I was cool with. Once you got into calculus and advanced, I was like, no, please stop. Just stop.
I'm okay with multiplications.
What do you think was the change? Do you feel like it was a change within you, or you found somebody in this instructor whom you could finally trust, and you put that trust in him and he didn't abuse it?
I think it was Dr. Hammock. I literally feel like where I am today in my life is because of Dr. Hammock. Because when you're told many a time that you're stupid and you're dumb and you're ugly and you can never amount up to anything, you start believing it. And that was what I was told repeatedly growing up in my household as a child. And then when you're abused and when you're raped and then you're told not to talk about it, then you think it's your fault somehow. Dr. Hammock was the only person who said, and also I wasn't allowed to ask questions when I was in Pakistan. Girls don't ask questions. I remember asking my dad, why can't I pray in the men's section in the mosque? And my dad was like, girls don't ask questions. and I must have been like 6 or 7. And I remember I had just learned how to whistle, and I tried to show my dad. I was so impressed that I learned how to whistle, and my dad was like, "Girls don't whistle." So everything was like, no, no, no. But when Dr. Hammock was like, ask me questions, ask questions, always ask. The students detested me in Nova. I would always have all the answers. I would ask all the questions. The professor actually at one point said, Somi, you need to give other students a chance to answer.
I've had a few of you in my classes over the years. I've had a few Somis in my classes. Yeah. Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
They're pretty annoying, but I was just like sucking it all up. I was like, wow, Virginia Woolf, like she was super cool, and she suffered from depression, and like all these writers from the 40s, like it was just, all of it was like, why are they fighting? Why is Israel and Palestine, why are they still fighting? Like I had zero knowledge, like zero general knowledge. And then I was like reading the New York Times every morning. Dr. Hammock made me subscribe to it, so it was delivered to my apartment. And then he would make sure I read it because he would quiz me. I spent hours. I graduated in 3 years. I mean, my undergrad, because I attended like even like summer. I went throughout, and I read all the textbooks before they started the semester. And then I went to UM to get my degree in broadcast journalism, because I'm very nosy. I love asking people questions. I want to know everything about, like, I want to know, like, when you were 4, tell me all about your life from to now.
Right.
Like, I love asking people questions. So I was doing that. However, I didn't graduate. I didn't get my master's because I read a story in the Times by Nick Kristof, who's one of my favorite writers and journalist. He wrote a story about a woman that was gang raped in Pakistan, and by 4 men, because her younger brother walked with a girl of a higher caste, because they have caste systems in India and Pakistan. So that woman was being brought to America through a nonprofit, and she was going to basically be awarded by then Senator Hillary Clinton.
Mm-hmm.
So I wrote to the organization, and I said, I would like to volunteer on my dime, come and meet with this woman and be an interpreter, because I speak Urdu fluently and she didn't speak English. So they were like, we would love to have you. They knew me from my Bollywood days, so of course they wanted me to come. And I traveled all over the United States with this woman. I did a short film called I Can Survive, which aired at Hillary Clinton's benefit on this woman, so which was really cool. Then I finished volunteering, did the whole thing with this lady, moved back. I'm in Plantation at this point, and I go to film school. I go to the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Yes.
Which is, I believe it was in Davie or somewhere in that area. So I got a degree in that. And because I was not satiated with the fact that I didn't get my master's. So I was like, I need some sort of certification with journalism. I love journalism. So did that. Then I was like, you know what? I want to learn how to do short films and editing and filmmaking. So I moved to New York. I said bye to everyone in Plantation. Even the Dunkin' Donuts I used to go to every day. I was like, I'm not coming back. I'm moving to New York. New York's so cool. I love it. Keep in mind, I had never seen snow before in my life.
Oh, God.
Get to New York, 2005. It was the coldest winter in 20 years. It was -8, and I had a dog.
Welcome to New York.
Yeah, I had a dog named Tyson who was 160 pounds. And so my brother's friend drove me and Tyson to New York. I lived.
I remember Tyson. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
I lived by the
huge dog.
Yes, 160 pounds, French Mastiff, beautiful dog. So I lived in Battery Park City by the Hudson River, and Tyson needed to be walked 4 times a day. And it was effing freezing. And so the course, fortunately, at the New York Film Academy was only 3 months. It was like a certification. It was not like a degree or anything, whatever.
Right.
So I realized that I hated editing. So all the 18-year-olds The
You've got a
18-year-old,
vision. You just don't like the
yeah,
editing part to get there, right?
I like this. I like coming up with stories. I wanted to make the films, but I hated the editing. So all the boys who had crushes on me that didn't realize I was not 19, I used to have them do all the editing for me.
So me.
Whatever. So then I get my degree, my certification from the New York Film Academy, and all of a sudden it starts snowing around that time. And the first time I saw snow, I was like, God is amazing. Like, God made snow. Like, I love God. Like, this is so magical. And I'm like touching it. The second day, I was like, F this shit. Because my dog, literally Tyson, just sat in the snow and would not move and looked at me like,
Because it's his first time too.
yeah, he was like, I hate you. What are you
And
doing?
he's thinking, dog is magical. Dog is amazing.
It was absurd. So I called my mom. I said, Mom, I don't care where you get a place for me. It could be anywhere. I call my brother and he's like, tough it out. Stop being a weakling. And I was like, screw you. I'm not staying in New York. You know how they have, I love New York. I made a shirt. And it was like the coldest winter. It was horrible. And so my mom got a rental for me. I'm back in Davie now at this point. And now it's 2006. Stayed in Davie for a little while. I had to move because the guy next door said, are you the good kind of Muslim or the bad kind of Muslim? And I was like, okay, I don't feel safe here.
I'm the Muslim who's moving away from you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, exactly. So then I moved to Plantation. And then when I was living in Plantation, I had a woman in 2006 I was contemplating starting a charity. I wanted to do a nonprofit, but I wanted to do like women, children, men, animals, LGBTQ community, everything. I was like,
you just want to help people.
I just wanted to help people.
Yeah.
So this woman knocks at my door and she's from Bangladesh and she was like bleeding from her forehead. And she's like, my father-in-law raped me. My husband's been abusing me for 10 years. So I brought her inside and then, I obviously did whatever needed to be done with the cops and the restraining order and all that stuff. And I called my brother and my brother's like, well, here's your mission, and knocked at your door. Literally, like, your mission knocked at your door. So
is this somebody you had known before? Is this somebody who knocked on your door?
She used to watch me walk Tyson.
Okay.
And she used to always, she thought that I was a similar culture. So, she always tried to talk to me, but she seemed very timid. I knew something was
And now we know why, right?
Yeah, but I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know, like, what's going on. Anyway, so I helped her. She put her through a medical assistance program, paid for it with some of my savings. And then No More Tears was born in 2006. I believe it was registered in November. In July of 2007, we got our 501c3 status. And now we're at 30,000 men, women, and children rescued.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And that's in 15 years. I mean, we're coming up on 15 years of No More Tears.
Exactly. So yeah, it's been quite a ride. It's been quite a journey. I had to move from Plantation because one of the abusers showed up with a gun, pointed it at my head and said, stay the F away from my BITCH. And then, I knew it was a trafficker because if it were a domestic violence person, he wouldn't say it like that.
Right.
Next day, my car outside my house has like the word whore written on it. It's keyed all over. My mailbox is destroyed. My brother's like, all right, no more tears. It's done. You're done. That's it. It's over. And you're moving to Miami. And I was like, I detest Miami. There's no parking. The traffic sucks. I don't know anyone in Miami. I don't like Miami. And it's the epitome of superficiality. I don't want to move to Miami. He's like, then you're not doing No More Tears. And I was like, you don't get to tell me what I do or not do. You're my younger brother. Like, you're not my older brother. So he's like, please, for your safety. Because the cops couldn't find the guy. So I ended up moving to Miami in a building where there's front desk security. And yeah, and Lord, then we got awards from President George W. Bush, H.W. Bush. And then we got a proclamation from President Barack Obama, and we're doing really well. And I'm really excited.
Before I go back a little bit, I want to find out how can people help? If somebody wants to help No More Tears, where should they go? What should they do?
So they can go to nomoretearsusa.org. And I have to mention that no one at No More Tears takes a salary, including myself. And then the legit question is, how do you live? Well, I own 3 apartments and I live off the rental income. That's my livelihood. I did not want to do this work for money. You know, no amount is too small. I encourage people to sign up for $10 a month. $10 is nothing. We spend that on coffee in a day. Yeah, that's how they can help. They can contact me directly in the contact section. It's my email address. They can reach out to me directly. But since the pandemic began, because I never stopped working because we're an essential business.
Yeah.
We've housed 192 victims. So that is, we put them in our safe house for the first 10 nights. Then we get them an apartment, decorate it, provide every service under the sun that you can think of, driving lessons. And, you know, we've had paralegals, first victim graduated with a PhD in pharmacy, teachers, victim advocates come out of our programs. I don't want to undermine shelters, but you don't want to just give them a bed. You want to start from scratch, and you want to teach them how to fish. You want to give them the tools to become financially independent. So that's very important. So yeah, I urge and request people, $10 a month is not a big deal, but if we have 10,000 people sign up for $10 a month, that will really keep us afloat and help us, because our funding is very tight right now due to COVID. We've depleted a lot of our funding.
Take me back, because you provide all these services for the victims who seek out help with No More Tears. Obviously, these are services, and we've already talked about this in the conversation, that you could have used as a child, as a teenager, and we hear every day, especially during the pandemic, it's been really rough. Teenage suicide and people harming themselves. Is that something that at some point you considered?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
As a teenager going through all this trauma and abuse,
Right.
Did you ever consider suicide?
I did. But I used a butter knife, so it was really, it was a really bad job.
I'm not being audible right now, but I'm shaking my head with a huge just eye roll, like, Somi.
Listen, if I don't add humor to what I do, I will go insane. I have to crack a joke here and there.
I was going to ask, what is your coping mechanism?
I have a very dark sense of humor. It's pretty dark. And yeah, what are you going to do? What can you do? You have to, I mean, I see stuff that is unfathomable for any human being. Last week I had a girl who was raped that was 9. Then, 2-3 days ago, we had a girl who was 14 impregnated by her father, and we had to take her to get her an abortion. Like, so when from morning to night, all you're seeing is horror, then you have to make light of something and, put a joke in here and there just to be able to survive, because I deem myself to be broken still, and I don't think I'm going to be I don't think I'll fully heal ever. I don't think so, because I don't think anyone can heal from immense, continuous, consecutive trauma. I'm happy that I'm not under a bridge shooting heroin. That's pretty awesome. I'm happy that I'm functioning, and I'm happy that I'm doing the most selfish thing that I could do, and that is to help others, because it makes me feel really, really good.
Wow. Considering the number of kids who you help out, and I would imagine some don't have parents, or the parents are not in their lives. How is it that you've gone through this and not ended up adopting like 10 kids?
I can't adopt children because I would have to shut down No More Tears because I've received many death threats. And I have chosen to sacrifice being a mother uh, because of my organization, because I feel like the children of No More Tears are my children. And I feel like I'm happily married to No More Tears also. So yeah, that's it. I'm pretty satiated. I fulfill my maternal instincts through the children, especially with the ones that are over 5. Under 5 is a little tough, but
I like how you draw the line. You draw the
yeah,
line.
the 5-year-olds, yeah, I'll hang out with them. But the under 5, the interns, that's all them. Take care. You want community service? You want to graduate? Take care of the 3-year-old and the 2-year-old. 5-year-olds, give them to me.
Separate from the abusive relationship you're in with Salman in your 8 years of Bollywood, how was your Bollywood experience? And
It
if
was pretty shitty.
okay,
It was except I got to travel all over India, which was beautiful because it has some of the most beautiful places. The irony is that I lied to my dad and I still haven't seen Taj Mahal, which
no, you
so that was pretty pathetic.
how
Uh,
how do you spend 8 years traveling throughout India and never see the Taj Mahal?
I was working and of course hoping that this person would change, and I was ready to get married and have children, but the relationship was so horrible. It got so horrible that for me to stay there for my emotional well-being would be just damaging. I think I would have probably not survived. But no regrets. There are no regrets. We have to move on. We can't keep dwelling on what happened. But I just, again, the whole purpose of going there was to marry this Prince Charming that I saw in a movie, and the awe of the character dissipated the first time I was slapped, and that's when I realized, like, oh my God, like, this is not the person that I thought it was. And your brain doesn't develop till you're 25. Keep in mind I was 16, so at 16 I'm thinking, okay, this is not really happening, this didn't really happen, he's going to change. And
And I'm
God,
going to be the one to change him, right? God
right,
would not have sent me there if not for this
right,
relationship.
right. I was extremely religious back then. I'm more spiritual now. But I thought he was going to change, and he didn't change. And the fairy tale ended up to be a horror story, a nightmare. It was terrible.
Was there a thought when you got to the States? You know what? I've got this Bollywood experience. I've got modeling experience, acting experience. I dance. So maybe I'll do the same thing in the States or try to nurture a career there.
Not at all. Not for a second. I hated acting. I hated dancing. I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to get up at 4 a.m., put on makeup and go on a set. I didn't like it. I just loved traveling all over India. I thought that was the most beautiful part of it. I met some very, very good people. I met some very, very horrible people, just like anywhere in the world,
Yeah.
like anywhere in life. There's no black and white. We're all gray. I can be a real asshole sometimes, and I can be very nice sometimes, and that's how human beings are. Of course, the child molesters and the rapists and the criminals, that's a different story. But my point is that no one is perfect. I had no interest in acting. What I wanted to rectify was the word stupid that was used on me so many times by my family. I really wanted to rectify that. And I wanted to prove to, I think, myself and my family, and through Dr. Hammock, that I'm not stupid. And I am smart, and I can ask questions, and I can do something. And I really wanted to get educated. It was such a 180 because I hated school. And today I look up random words in the dictionary and just learn them. I'm like the biggest nerd, and I play Scrabble alone on my phone with the computer or whoever the other person is, who's always so freaking good and beats me. I hate that. But yeah, I'm a nerd.
What is your relationship like with your family now?
So I try to spend the least amount of time as I can with my mother more than my father, because my father was never abusive to us. He was the breadwinner of the family. He gave us the best of everything, but he was never around. That I learned as a victim advocate, that in itself is a form of abuse, because you're negligent, because
Right.
you're not around as a father. But I still take that over what my mother did to us. I've learned a lot about my mother's childhood and what she went through. It's unbelievable, the abuse that she's gone through. She was sexually abused by probably every member of the male member of the family. She was physically abused by her mother with a metal pipe. She was told she was stupid. So I also think that she's like not well, mentally not well, because of all her trauma and her abuse. I'm not in any way justifying what she did, because if I were to have a kid, I would know what not to do to a child. But I think she did the best she could, because she was not well. And I see her maybe once a month, and I stop by at her place in Plantation. I have to drive to Broward 3 or 4 times a week for victims. I sit on the couch. She talks and talks and talks. I block it all out, and I just
So
yeah.
it's a normal relationship then.
Yeah, very healthy, very, very healthy, very loving.
Have you forgiven her? Forgiven your father?
Yes, I have, because he has done a lot for us, for my brother and myself, and also financially he has done a lot for us. And to date, if I know if there's a need, which God forbid there is one, but because I have my livelihood is my apartments, but to date, if there's an emergency, because I depleted my savings into No More Tears, which was $850,000 in 2011, so I don't have any savings. But I know that if God forbid, if there's an emergency, if all I have to do is pick up the phone and my dad will come through. He did the best, it was his upbringing. The man is supposed to be the provider, and, the mom's supposed to be the nurturer and the one who takes care of you. And remember, his way of showing love was to beat that guy. But since there's no aspect of psychology in Pakistan, especially back then when I was a kid, my dad didn't understand that he wasn't showing me love, but he was traumatizing me by making me watch what they were doing to this guy. And I mean, they beat him pretty bad. I think he was on the verge of dying. It was very traumatizing. But with my mother, it's not a good relationship. I have a tough time forgiving her, because there was various forms of abuse. She used to put this Fair and Lovely cream on me because I was dark as a kid. I used to play cricket and I was always dark. I was always in the sun, and she would always say that, dark skin is bad and you have to be white skin to be pretty. And she would rub this cream on me, which would give me a rash. And she would say, if you're not white skin, fair skin, no one will marry you. And little did she know that I never, at this point in time, I think marriage is the most ridiculous institution. One can't wait to get in, and then once you're in, you can't wait to get out. There's a quote. And I think it's just a piece of paper, and it's a conformity to societal norms. I apologize to anyone that's married, and I respect you guys, and I wish you the best in your endeavors and your married life. But personally, I think it's just conformity.
Somi, we've touched on so many things, and I know we could probably talk for like 3 hours more, but I know that you've got a No More Tears victim to attend to, and I appreciate the hour that you've given us today, that you've given me today. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me, and it was really good to catch up and see you.
I encourage you to go to nomoretearsusa.org to help Somi's nonprofit. I've put a donation link in the show notes. Also at No More Tears USA and Real Somy Ali on Instagram. You can follow the Aron Bender podcast on your favorite platforms and link to it at aronbender.com. That's also where you can find all my social media. If you have guest ideas or comments, email me, aronbendermedia@gmail.com. Be well, and thanks for listening.